Hi, my name is Denise Mount, and the name of my story today is 200 Pages. My daughters and I read together since before they were born. While they were still in the womb, I read them Dr. Seuss and nursery rhymes, and after they were born, we went on to Shel Silverstein and Winnie the Pooh. And then as toddlers, the girls heard Tom Sawyer and Anne of Green Gables, Treasure Island, and even Ivanhoe. We had such a blast reading these great stories together. And then, as the girls got into grade school, I thought maybe I could share with my daughters some chick lit, romance novels. And if I was going to read my daughters a love story, why not read to them the best, the very best that chick lit has to offer? And so it was, with Sarah as a 5th grader and Amanda as a 2nd grader. The 3 of us sat down together to read Jane Eyre. Oh, yeah. And the girls loved Jane Eyre right from the very beginning, because in the beginning, Jane Eyre herself was a little girl and Sarah and Amanda were little girls. And they identified, oh, let's keep reading, Mom. And so we kept reading, and Jane's parents died. Oh, that would be terrible. Oh, what happened next, Mom? Well, some relatives took Jane in, and then they very quickly shipped her off to boarding school. And at boarding school, they told her that if she showed up every day and if she worked hard and did well, then when she grew up, she would be able to get a good job and be able to support herself. Wow, thought Sarah and Amanda, identifying even more greatly, because those were the same things that Sarah and Amanda's parents told them every single day. So what happens next, Mom? Well, Jane did go to school every day, and she did do well, and she grew up to get a job. She became a governess in charge of the education of a young girl who lived on the estate that was owned by Mr. Rochester. Oh, tall, dark, mysterious Mr. Rochester. Oh, every scene between Rochester and Jane just crackled with electricity. They were attracted to each other, but could it happen? They were from 2 different worlds, and every bit of dialogue between the 2 of them was so witty and so clever. They were falling in love. Could it happen? And Sarah came home from school one day. She said, Mom, we need to read the next chapter of Jane Eyre right now. Sarah's class was going on a field trip. They were going to be gone for a couple of days, and Sarah said that she had a feeling that Rochester was about to propose to Jane, and she wanted to know before she went on her field trip. And so the 3 of us sat down right then and there, and we read the next chapter of Jane Eyre. And sure enough, Mr. Rochester asked Jane to marry him, and Jane, she said yes. I looked over at Sarah. She had the biggest, most satisfied grin on her face. She said, now I can go on my field trip knowing that Jane and Rochester are getting married. I took this as what we nowadays call a teachable moment. And I grabbed what was still left to read of the book. And I said, Sarah, there's 200 pages left here. Do you really think that Jane and Rochester are going to get married now? Or do you think that maybe they're going to have 200 pages of trials and tribulations before we get to the end where they may or may not get married? Sarah shot me a look. She said, I know where you're going with this, Mom, but I firmly believe that 2 people can meet, fall in love, get married, and have 200 pages of happy adventures. Oh, I left it at that. And Sarah went on her field trip. And when Sarah came back, she and Amanda very quickly found out that for Jane in Rochester, there were definitely 200 pages of trials, tribulations, and major drama before getting to the end of the story where they did or maybe didn't get married. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But we did finish the book. And for years, I told the story of the time my daughters and I read Jane Eyre together. It was a good story. But you know what? When we finished that book, it is now 25 years later. And even though the book Jane Eyre in 25 years has never changed its ending, the story of my daughters and I reading Jane Eyre together has a different ending now. Because I have come to realize after all of these years that Sarah was right all along. Because in the real world, Amanda and Sarah went to school every day. And they worked hard. And they did well. And they grew up to have fantastic careers. And they can support themselves. But also during all of this time, each girl has met, fallen in love with, and married her own Mr. Rochester. And now, Sarah and John, Amanda and Tony, are living their 200 pages of happy adventures. Thank you.